Welcome everyone to Scroll Sessions. Today we have on Sean Holladay, the co-founder of Space Station. And I will say Space Station is much more than just that one word.
Oh, it
you
is.
could correct me, but it's Space Station Integration, Space Station Gaming.
We own the
CPG.
first step. We own spacestation.com.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's
there you
huge.
go.
If anything, if this whole thing goes down, we got spacestation.com.
Exactly.
Sell the domain to Elon or Bezos or one of these guys has got to want it.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Or NASA, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Someone will want it. So that's the premise. But yeah, started, you have Space Station and then these sub brands, Space Station CPG, Space Station Integration, Space Station Gaming. We just kind of stuck with that one general tone, that one style.
The Space Station Empire,
That's
as I think
it.
a lot
That's
of us have colloquially termed
I like
it.
that little last part, the Empire. I'll take, why not?
I
You know
love
what? We actually, so our business name used to be You Into Local. And when we changed it to Scroll, there was another name that was in the running. What was it? Something Moon.
Oh, I can't remember.
But
there was a lot of names.
But it was like way too similar to Space Station.
Well, the cool part too is that like you have so many emoji options with Space Station. You got
Yeah.
the astronaut, you've got the rocket, you've got stars, moons. Like
name
everybody likes space branding. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's kind of a
It's
cool part of it.
It's worked very well for you
Oh,
guys.
yeah, so well.
Oh, it was Moonwalk.
Oh yeah,
Moonwalk
yeah, we
was
have
also-
one Moonwalk.
So,
Yeah, we have a Moonwalk Media.
do you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Moonwalk.
okay.
Yeah,
Media.
Moonwalk Media is our like gaming. It's like integrations
apparatus.
for gaming.
Yeah.
yeah,
Really?
yeah. So it's
Okay,
focused on
good
gaming
thing we
tools.
didn't use it.
There you go.
We would have gotten a cease and desist
From us, just up the street. I still drive by your guys' like
our
old building.
I was gonna say our old
and
office
the
was
signage
closed.
is still there. You got to go get it down.
Oh,
took
we
it
already
down.
did.
Oh, you
It's
did?
now up on our other building now.
Okay. I drive by there and I'm like, these guys still have their old spot there.
Yeah, we used to be very close. Well, literally on
Super
the same
close.
street,
And our friends were Rosewood. If
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
who they are.
yeah.
Rosewood Painting.
which is
Mitch
right
and-
next door.
They
Yeah.
were literally right next door to you guys.
Oh, really?
There's
In
who
the-
have
in the
helped
lane-
build like most of
the
our
lane building.
office. So like all the painting, they clear coat all the metal. They do most of the drywall.
We
Is-
we actually
is
hired
Rosewood.
Rosewood to paint. Rosewood are the guys that painted all of our interior stuff when
Yeah.
we moved in.
There you go. It's a
It's
small
fine.
world.
I
It's all about
ordered-
relationships.
I do
Listen,
that-
we're here
I
at
do that
Catalyst,
stuff.
right? It's all about who you know, man.
Yeah.
The
Well, we were,
sickest
just,
podcast on earth, and it's right here.
we were talking about that just off air, and you were mentioning, name some of the podcasts that you've been on, just to
Oh.
really amp us up, make us feel good.
Yeah, I was on Trevor Crump's just recently.
Yeah.
Love Trevor.
Yep. Such
Mark.
a
We just
stud.
tell Trevor and Mark we just steal their guests. That's
Yeah.
just kind of how our relationship with them
Sean
works.
Finnegan, if you don't know who he is, incredible human. Just was on his a couple days ago, but I've been on like Gary V's was really, really cool.
Yeah, you and Sean Durst were on that one
Yeah,
together,
me and Sean
right?
like flew out just for that, which is kind of a fun experience. You're like, yeah, let's
so
do it.
cool.
And then we get there and you think it's maybe gonna be something like this. Ends up being us three just like sitting up on chairs, like right, like our feet are at the level of like all the desks and like 30, 40 people there at the office. And it was almost like this kind of open Q&A, but then we had some cameras specifically in like podcast style. Anyways, it was really cool. It's like kind of a unique,
Unique
different,
model.
different one,
That is
different
really
style.
cool.
So
Well, it just goes to show that like production isn't everything too, right?
Exactly.
Like it's the
it's the guest, it's the story, it's
the content.
Nobody
Yeah.
knew who Guy Raz was.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like he didn't have
How I
some
built
phenomenal
this.
exit or like some crazy, but no, he just was like, how I built this. I'm gonna go get the people's story that you want to hear about on common, products and services that you know about. And I'm gonna go be the guy. And now all of a sudden, now you know who Guy Raz is. You know what I mean? But
Great
Yeah.
it's the
storyteller.
content, dude. It was the story.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we're stoked to have you on today. We have worked a little bit together
Yeah.
in business.
Yeah, which has been
and
incredible.
It's been awesome to watch you guys. You guys started a few years before us, and you guys have, no pun intended, been like a rocket ship.
When did you guys start? I don't.
2019.
2019.
2019.
Yeah.
Okay.
We didn't we were calling businesses at Hometown Values magazine, me and Dan, saying, hey, you should try like digital advertising. So
Which is it was a great way to start.
That's a great story. I love it.
yeah, and we had a little office for $300 a month next to an emotional therapist, and she'd turn on a white noise machine. So it was like,
Yeah.
that's how we started. We didn't like really start a big business. We just
No, yeah.
We just had
started
some
calling
clients
That's
that
how they
we
all
each had.
start,
Yeah,
though.
yeah, for sure.
Like
So-
straight up, that's how they all start.
Yeah.
What year did you guys start?
So we started 2017,
17.
but the Shonduras brand had been kind of going since 2014, 2013
On YouTube.
on Snapchat.
Snapchat,
So Sean
right.
starts with Snapchat and kind of through his own grit and just effort built this following. he was hitting up news publications and he was getting articles and he was featured in like all these different things by just like self-proclaimed, like, I'm going to be the Snapchat guy. And then he had some incredible, just collaborations where he worked with Jerome Jarre and then Casey Neistat. And then Gary actually came in and helped, kind of plug him into a bunch of people. And so I started on Snapchat and back up, Sean and I had met on our mission.
Yeah.
So we're in Honduras.
This is the Honduras part of
that's
Honduras.
where Honduras comes from. The Sean comes back from Honduras.
Honduras.
And so his like usernames and stuff, he'd put S Honduras, and that's where Honduras started.
Oh,
And
nice.
so
I've always wondered that.
yeah, so we met on our mission, and from there, I was from Arizona. I'm from this little town called Sholo. There'll be somebody that will hear this and be like, my cousin,
North
they're
or
my
south?
friend.
I served my mission in Arizona.
Northeast.
Northeast. Okay.
Yeah, Northeast Arizona. And so there's not much close. You're like 3 hours, 2.5 hours from Phoenix, Mesa kind of area.
Okay.
And then you've got, if you went further kind of north, kind of headed back west, you'd have like Holbrook, Winslow, which are like the Route 66, the classic like
towns.
cars
Yeah,
literally
yeah,
built
yeah.
off of that.
For sure.
We're just like up
Right
in
there.
the mountains, 6,800 elevation,
Okay.
kind of away
Yeah.
from everything else. So grew up there, little tiny town. And then after the mission, went to Mesa. I was actually going into nursing school
Yes.
because if I could be a nurse, if I wanted to go back to my little town, we're talking like 10,000 population, right? 15,000 population. You really work for the school, the hospital, or you have your own business.
Yeah.
I was savvy enough to know that like I didn't have resource to get a business, so that probably wasn't going to happen. And my dad worked at the school, and he didn't like it, so I always just grew up was like, I don't think I want to do that. So I was like, I'm going to go back to work at the hospital. And my wife is a sonographer, and so I was like, sick, we'll work up there and start this lifestyle. And yeah, I ended up actually getting my RN, which was cool. But
You got on the cover of a magazine.
I was on the cover of the magazine, but I just realized it wasn't going to work for me. And during that time I worked as a telemarketer. We were selling solar hot water heaters
Oh, wow.
in 2009. So most people didn't have a home,
Yeah,
but
no
they needed a
kidding.
solar hot water heater.
Yeah.
That was really tough. Then I was like, all right, I'm going to step up. And I did debt collecting. So I did medical debt for 2.5 years. And then I was
Which is,
like, all right,
which is rough to be in general.
I'm breaking out. I'm really going to step up. And I ran a janitorial company for 2.5 years. So really learned like the nitty gritty, tough side of just life, to be completely honest. Not that my life was bad, just that there's, medical debt out there that somebody has to collect. There's toilets and floors that have to be mopped and cleaned. And there was someone to do it. And that was me. I was that guy doing that, which was phenomenal experience. But during that, we're going, and then my brother and I, Tim, who's at the space station now, runs Space Station Investments. We were sitting at church together. We lived next door. So I had twins, and I bought the house next to my brother so that he could help me with my twins. I was like, dude, I can't do this. So you got to help.
Yeah.
But yeah, we were sitting in church, and I was like, how is it that I can FaceTime someone in Honduras, a third world country, and like see them and hear them, yet somebody, sitting here in front of me is sharing this, really cool story, and I can't understand or hear them, right? Because the audio is just so terrible. I was like, what if you could talk into your phone and have it come over the sound system? And he was like, that's brilliant. And we literally were obsessed for the next week. All we thought about, all we researched, our Google searches were just turning a phone into a microphone in a live event. So 200-300 people, instead of passing a mic around, you talk into your phone. And so that was it. We're doing that. But I'm still in nursing school. We don't have much money. And we're like, how do we do it? And
How do we make this work?
we literally put everything we had into just like a MVP. And that really was what started our kind of first iteration of it. And from there, we then went on to raise capital. And this is from 2013 to 2016. And then in 2016 is where Sean kind of comes back into my life from the mission. He's coming to Arizona for a college football game, the national championship. In 2016 was in Glendale, Arizona. And he's like, I think I know a guy there. And he's like, yo,
Hit
dude,
you up.
don't you live there? And I was like, yeah. He's like, well, I'll come by, man. Like, that'd be sick to come and stay and hang. And I was like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And so when he hung, we dove into what he was working on and where he was going and what Crowd Mics was and where it was going. And
So it's called Crowd Mics.
yeah, Crowd Mics. Yep. And so then that year we ended up going through acquisition, and I was like, hey, so Tim stayed on kind of in the earnout, and I was like, I'm
wanna
kind
do
of,
something.
looking for something else.
Yeah.
And we lived in Arizona, and it was hot and miserable. And I was like, you know what? How cool would it be? And Sean hit me up and was like, let's see if there's something here. And so anyways, moved sight unseen to Utah in November
Took the whole
of,
family.
of 2016.
So
I had 4 kids. So I had a 4-year-old or 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and then 18-month-old twins.
Jeez.
And we moved in.
And why make the jump, right? 'Cause, like, obviously, you and
Yeah.
Sean were connected.
Yeah.
Like you had a relationship. You knew each other in Honduras. But
Yeah.
like, why make that jump and transition?
Yeah. I mean, I was ready for something different. We had done the tech scene, the fundraise, the just go out and
Yeah.
grind. And Sean had this whole other thing, this media style, right? This like media delivery and this community that he was building. And I was like, that is just such a different pace than what I had kind of been used to. And it was so refreshing. So I was like, how cool would this be to just have a different style? And I didn't know who PewDiePie was. I didn't have the native like YouTube app on my phone. So it wasn't like I was like, I love this stuff.
Yeah,
like, this
for
is
sure.
me. Oh my gosh. It was like ready for a change. And like, I believe in just humans can figure things out.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I'll figure it out. I'll figure out, like I've figured out other stuff, how to fit into this market and bring value. And so that's where it started.
I mean,
Yeah, that's
you went
amazing.
from debt collecting to plumbing
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
you pretty sure you can figure out
You're
something.
probably
now.
gonna
Yeah,
get
I'm like,
you're
rounded into
multifaceted.
Yeah,
influencers
I'll
at
figure
some
it.
point.
And then I grew up. My mom owned a Dairy Queen.
Really?
Oh, that's right. I remember you
30
posted on about
33
LinkedIn about
years.
us. Yeah.
So like I grew up in a business of we have to
Yeah.
paint it, we got to change the floors, we got to make ice cream and clean the machines and
Yeah.
all kind of stuff. And so like I had grown up, and then my dad actually started an air medical business. So we had helicopters and planes, and like they're
my gosh.
dispatching at 3 a.m. So like I knew life was always just a grind. Like it was
Yeah.
kind of just you
Business
do it.
is in the blood.
You do it how and when you got to do it. My actual both my grandpas were entrepreneurs and had, they both actually had like convenience stores.
Wow.
Yeah, like one had a
that's
gas
cool.
station right next to the Dairy Queen.
Okay.
And then the other one had one in a place called Pine Top. He had a little convenience store. And so anyways,
Wow,
it was
that's
like
awesome.
just
This
kind
just
of always
runs in the
generationally
family.
was
for sure.
there. And so I knew it was
Yeah.
going to be a grind, but I was
But you were interested.
ready for it. Yeah. And I was down.
So starting a business or going into business with someone, like obviously Dan and I are in a business partnership.
Yeah.
You had Shonduras come down. He had his Snapchat thing going and had built an awesome community. You
Yeah.
had started a business and exited.
Yeah.
How much conversation did you guys have about going into business together? And this is a question that I think a lot of people wonder, like,
Yeah.
how do you decide who does what and who provides value where and those kind of things?
Yeah, I think a massive piece is too often people sit down, and I've found myself doing this too. But like we'll sit down and like plan everything out. We're gonna have this, and we're gonna do this, and you're gonna do that, and we're gonna crush this market, and look at this TAM, and coming up with all these acronyms and things.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like end of the day, you have to actually have something, right? You have to have a skill set that you can bring to the table, and there has to be a market that fits, and that you can go after. And then go after it and figure it out. So we've adjusted plenty of times. Oh, it's going to look like this. Maybe it's not. Oh, it's going to be this. Maybe it's not. Right. In all aspects of the business. And so I think number one is just really truly go out and find and, see where your skill sets and your desires match up with the market and then just go to work. Like
How's that
that's number one.
evolved from like you and Sean at the beginning to where you
Yeah.
guys are now?
Yeah. So, I mean, we were just we were making videos every single day. So daily vlogs. So
And
get up
you were
and
a part
grind
of
out
the
a video.
vlogs.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So from December, so timeline was like, December, super, super busy. Sean's just heads down. It's, the Super Bowl of marketing. And so
Of the year, yeah.
we're just cranking. He's all over the place, traveling to events and doing all kinds of things. And so I was just at the office and I'm like, what can I do? I don't really know a ton. But at the time, if you remember, like one wheels and boosted boards and like those scooters,
Yeah,
like hoverboards and all that stuff was
That's
like
like huge.
And Casey
booming.
Neistat was big.
Yeah. And Casey and Sean were like homies. So it's like
Yeah.
all working. So while I was there, I would just look up companies and I'd hit them up and just like, hey, if you send us stuff, we'll make videos. And every day we're trying to make a video every day. So it's
Yes.
like,
you need a
we
lot
can
of
make,
content.
we can make
Yeah.
a video about anything.
Yeah.
Just share it and send it to us. And so I spent a ton of time doing that. And then the first quarter we really honed in on and did some incredible deals with Subaru and Samsung, Century 21, these just really great pinnacle
Yeah.
brands. And Sean had these incredible relationships. And so that's where we started. And then we started thinking, well, there was a case study with Greyhound Bus where this guy hits me and he's like, hey, let's do this deal. And I was like, awesome. Do you like by chance have any more budget, or like could I get this other guy who's with us? Like he was in town, a kid named Tanner Fox. He was there. It's like, could we get him on this campaign as well? And he's like, yeah. And so he throws some budget, right? And I was like, that was awesome. So like that worked, and then everyone was stoked. And I was like, well, let's just be more conscious. This is probably like February, March type time frame. Like let's just be more conscious of it.
Of 2016?
Yeah, of 2017. Like let's be more conscious of like where this could overlap more. Well, it starts getting very obvious. Man, we could really, dive in and do this. And then we'd start to talk to influencers, and they were all open to this concept of us, bringing opportunities to them. And so in June, we sat down, and to your point earlier of like, how did it all come together? We sat down with a whiteboard and literally just threw up all the things we were good at or all the things that we had access to. So it's like, okay, we have a pretty good access, if we have pretty good access to other influencers. Okay, where and how do we do that? Maybe we could edit their videos. Maybe we could do their brand deals. Maybe we could do that. Like, so we kind of list those things out. And then gaming, we had a couple guys that were just really into gaming. So like we, could start representing gaming talent, or maybe we could get into and get a team on like the esports side, or maybe we build a gaming brand or product, whatever. So we whiteboard all these things out, and then we start going after them. Start kind of putting them up against the wall to see where they stick or what they do. And the agency, so we started Space Station Integrations and Space Station Gaming on June 15th of 2017. And from there, we just started really pushing ourselves out there to say, hey, we can bring value, and here's the contacts and connections. And here's what we learned. That was probably the biggest thing is like, we were doing it in-house. Like we were living it every day. So when it's like, oh, well, what video should I make for this brand? It's like, we just did 3. Like we get it. It's tough, and there's just a certain output. And so it was really, real or authentic or whatever word you want to put in there, that like we were doing it too.
And you're
We felt it.
documenting
And I'm like, I'm like trying to get them a deal, but I'm also on camera, like in the vlogs,
for sure.
making content.
You were actually
I get
documenting it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's like, I know what it feels like. And
You understood the creator side really well.
Yeah. Had really great perspective. So we launched those 2 and bought spacestation.com, launched Space Station
How
Integrations.
much did spacestation.com cost?
It was $7,000.
Really?
Which is not bad for
Yeah,
like
get a good return
for
on
a
that.
domain.
Oh,
name.
incredible.
Yeah.
In 40 years when you sell it to the government.
Yeah. Then we'll have that podcast just specifically about the process of selling the domain. But yeah, we buy that and we get going, and gaming starting to build community, and we're finding our niche of where and what games made the most sense, and how to build, community there. And then integrations is starting to pick up. Our really first kind of core talent were Tanner Fox and then Peter McKinnon, big photographer.
Yeah.
And we had those 2, but then we were doing deals with all kinds of people, Corridor Digital and H3, and you name it. We were, if we could get in front of them, we were trying to source and bring value in some way. So that's moving, gaming's moving, and then the Shonduras channel, and then we start A for Adley, his daughter's channel, and those start picking up. Those start moving.
Yeah.
And so momentum's going well, and we're like, we actually got into Vid Summit as well, our conference. And so we're kind of like really trying to center ourselves in the center of the creator economy. Like, man, can we bring value in as many ways as possible to this, this ecosystem? And so we find ourselves with Vid Summit.
Perfect time.
Yeah. And it was great timing.
Yeah.
It really was.
Such great
Yeah.
timing.
And so we just kind of really wedged ourselves in there through our, event with Vid Summit, and then our, agency, and then this kind of different look at and way with this gaming where we'd overlap with creators, and we'd have them
was
stream
like
with
not
us.
even a huge thing yet.
I mean, this is pre like Fortnite Ninja, crazy
Pre-Twitch,
Drake, they're streaming, a million people watching type thing. This is before that. Our first game was Smite. Most people don't even know what game that is.
Yeah.
So like,
I don't recognize that personally.
and we did really well. Like we made it to the world championship, and but it's a high res game, and it's just this very niche, you'd have to know.
Yeah, for sure.
Now we're in, Rainbow Six Siege and Rocket League and Halo, PUBG, like very noticeable, recognizable names.
Yeah.
So question I have on
But
that.
but that's the lesson. Doesn't start there.
Yeah,
It doesn't
for sure.
start at Halo. Doesn't start at Rainbow Six.
Yeah.
It starts at Smite, Heroes of the Storm, Brawlhalla. These are all names no one in this room has ever heard of.
this.
And these are brands.
Unless you're in it.
These are
Yeah.
But if you know it, you know it.
Yeah.
If you're in it, you're in it.
Well, right now I'm watching Wrexham. If you've seen that documentary about Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, I
and
haven't seen it,
Rob
but I want to.
McElhenney.
The soccer.
Yeah, them buying the.
Yeah.
So they talk about how the cool thing about soccer in Europe, aka football, is it's a pyramid scheme. I'm just kidding. But it's a pyramid where top league is the Premier League, then you have Champions League, and then you go to the National League, and then there's all these leagues below. And you could literally start a team with your friends of 15 people and go play in a public league. If you win that, you move up. You win that, you go up, all the way until you could.
Which that's what they did, right? He essentially bought into them at whatever level, and then they made it up, right?
Yeah.
So
They bought them
much.
at they used to be one of the best teams in the country, and they had fallen down instead of being like just a rec team that got really good.
Yeah.
They were like, Wrexham was a mining town that
fall from
fell from the king of the world to the worst of the worst. But now they're doing really well. But
Now they're
anyway,
But he saw the potential in them, and he bought them at the right time.
but I think it's similar to like the way that e-gaming's going right now, where like anyone can start a team. And this is a question really that I have, like, how do you go about starting a professional gaming team?
Yeah.
And what is that? Because I would assume integrations is more like driving profit and revenue, and gaming, was that more consuming revenue and taking resources?
Yeah, well, I mean, we're bumping along, and it's partnerships, it's winnings, it's in-game skins.
Yeah.
We're in these kind of obscure games that not a ton of people know, and not a ton of people are streaming necessarily. And so we're like, hey, we gotta get into some other games. Like we gotta go and look and find. And at the time, 2018, 2019, Rainbow Six Siege had been around forever.
Yeah.
But it was quietly building this kind of competitive scene. And we got in really, really, really early. Like we got in early with the developers and with the ecosystem to say, like, we're here, we're gonna help build this thing. So that was like a massive, massive lift for us. And then we won the world championship in 2020. So
for that game.
So we're in Montreal, 5,000 people in the stadium, 500,000 live, and
which
we
is crazy.
win. Yeah, we win the
This
world
is your first big
championship.
win.
Oh yeah.
And what year was this?
2020. February of 2020. Like
So how long have you-
Right before COVID.
You had the team for 3 years.
Right before. No, probably a year and a half. Unit who, if you're listening, Unit, I would much rather have you speaking to this. You know it all.
He's the gamer.
But somewhere in there, we invested into this thing and really tried to help, the developer and bring in great people and so yeah, then it results in this world championship, which then was incredible, just validating for the org, good revenues.
Yeah, what does a world championship pay?
I think that one payout was like it's all public, you can go find it, but I think it was like 1.3.
Okay.
Somewhere around there, 1.3, 1.4
And you
million.
pay your players on stuff like that.
Yep, everybody. There's coaches, there's analysts. I mean, it's a whole ecosystem. It's a whole
Which is
thing.
crazy, and it's now even bigger than it ever
yeah.
has. But was it a Fortnite championship that was one of the largest payouts?
Yeah, that one,
in
and it was
recent
one
history?
style. See, that's the difference. It's like you can go and find some of these like flash in the pan type scenarios, but you really find the competitive scenes, a Rocket League, Halo that have been around for a long time and are going to be around for a long time, and the people in the community is absolutely just fanatical about it. And so, we try to stick to those ecosystems. And when you can get close to the developer, we have 6 cars in Rocket League. We have full Halo
You guys
skins,
are getting
guns,
your brand in the game
warthogs.
itself.
I mean, everything, so that your and digital purchases is phenomenal revenue, right? And so
for sure.
that's where you're really kind of digging your heels in, but that takes time. They don't just come in and be like, oh, willy-nilly, anybody can have whatever.
Yeah.
It's like you really got to show that you're going to be there and you want to be there. And so that's been a massive, massive piece for us.
And now esports is, like at the University of Utah, they have like
Yeah.
the college team.
Oh, yeah.
It's,
High school.
Yeah, and
we
in
did.
high school
We actually
and
put it
junior
on.
high and-
There's a Ken Garf entire esports program at the high school level that's phenomenal.
super cool.
So is esports similar to like soccer, for example, or where you work your way up the ranks?
Yeah,
through
some leagues have like buy-in. So like
Okay.
some of them have where you've got to like almost franchise like an NBA, type
Yeah.
team and,
Yeah.
and that structure. And then there's others where relegation is really what it is, right? Where the best teams get to stay in, and then if you drop to the bottom and you're just not good enough, the next kind of
Gotta work
under league or junior league can come and take that place, and that keeps it very, very competitive. Like you have to stay instead of just we're terrible and we're here and hopefully we just gonna kind of keep gonna be here, and so it does create this urgency to have the best
sure.
team. But dude, I mean, it's like full blown
And these guys are
trading
playing. These are
and-
playing for like 10 hours a day.
oh yeah, trading
which
and
is
coaching
crazy.
and physical
Everything.
work. I mean, yeah,
It's like
it's probably a lot.
So what's the biggest payout event in esports now?
There's a couple. I'm trying
There's
to
that one that
think.
broke a ton of record. I think was it? Correct me if I'm wrong. I thought it was the Fortnite. It was like a big Fortnite championship.
But like Dota will have some crazy payouts.
Really?
Yeah, and they're like crowdsourced. So like the people put up
Are paying in.
the prize pool, which is pretty cool. So
Like, how-
there's some, but like Dota, we're not in it, you know, right now, and that's just not where we're at. So, and a lot of these games, like I love Rocket League, like
It's a cool game.
absolutely,
Yeah, it's fun.
like spend
Yeah.
a ton of time in it.
My
and-
brother's obsessed with Rocket League.
yeah, spend
he
a ton
works
of
at
time and
Space
play. Yeah,
Station, so-
Scotty boy. So yeah, part of it too is obviously you gotta like took our kids here. We had an event we put on with Halo, like a sanctioned Halo
Yeah.
regional event, and I'm with all my kids
at the
there.
depot, right?
Yep, at the
Yeah.
depot, packed house. And we win. Like we win it, right? And I think it was like 100 or 150K. And like with my kids on the front row,
So
you know,
cool.
So
it's
fun.
just that's in the game while they're playing, the coach like kind of stands behind them, and like we're looking pretty good in the round, and he like looks up at me and we make eye contact and I wink, and he's like, it's like
We're gonna do
it's just
this.
cool. It's
He's
just
like, yeah,
special,
yeah.
you know, and like so
Yeah.
there is like that is just an incredible kind of special moment that that when you look at it, you're like, man, it took a lot to get here and pretty wild, and so
Well, and is it something that my guess is you're investing a lot into this? Obviously, you're getting revenue through skins and
Yeah.
digital purchases and winning
sponsorships and
But also, this team is becoming valuable, right? Just like Mark Cuban selling the Dallas Mavericks
Yeah.
recently. Isn't he
oh,
trying to,
1,000%.
you
Now
know,
you're ingrained in these places, so the brand and the real communities there with you, and so
So it's probably worth way more than it's ever done. In
for sure,
revenue, right?
for sure,
So cool.
yeah.
That's
Yeah.
amazing that you guys
So,
built that.
so we're doing that. We're doing integrations. Integrations is starting to pick up. We do a Hot Wheels car with Tanner Fox. We launch a backpack with Nomadic here locally.
Yeah,
and,
we've seen that.
and Peter McKinnon, and things are moving. And we have a friend who calls us Chris Bennett. He hits us up and he's like, hey, like I know you guys, cereal was like a big part of like Sean's story, Chandra's story, and in the Snapchat days, and he still like actually genuinely loves cereal. Like he eats it all the time. So like he just thinks Chris is like, oh, these guys like cereal. And so he hits us and he's like, hey, do you guys want to invest in this company called Magic Spoon? And we're like, yeah, are you going to invest? He's like, yeah, for sure. We're like, okay, sick. And so we jump in, we invest, and we're like, okay, we're going to be value add investors. Like we want our reputation to really stand out. And so we go hard and like we created a custom, the tape that Amazon puts around your stuff. So
boxes.
you kind of like it's differentiated.
Yeah,
We make our own like Magic Spoon times Space Station tape, and we build our own bowls and spoons. So like custom
You
make
guys go
these,
hard
etch
with the
them,
brand, yeah.
and then we go and send this out to these influencers that we work with. And so like we're going really hard, and we seed it, and these guys are popping out their phones and, oh, check this out and look at this and how cool. And Magic Spoon is like, these guys are awesome, man. Like, holy cow.
Yeah.
Right. And so a year later, it's now 2020 and August of 2020. And they hit us up and they're like, hey, do you guys want to take down some more of the round? Like, you guys have been incredible and really value add, and we really appreciate it. And we're like, yeah, like we want to invest more, but I don't know like how much more we have. It's only been like 12 months. And we're like, look, could we syndicate it? So could we go get some of these influencers? Could we go get some of these people to throw in on this round? And he's like, yeah, like we'd be down. And so we just start ringing the phones. Hey, do you remember you said you liked
You
it?
did
Like,
some stuff with
did you not
Magic
want it?
Spoon.
And they're like, no,
Yeah, yeah.
I do. That'd be sick to invest. I'm like, cool. Hey, you remember? Oh yeah, no, that would be awesome. And so we
Crowdfunded the round.
we syndicate and bring together this round, and we invest $1 million into Magic Spoon. And so we're like, that was incredible. I didn't know our community could do that, right? How incredible that we were able to get more, and we had already 8x star money. So like we were already stoked, like
Yeah,
holy
you're
smokes.
already-
And we just felt like Magic Spoon was gonna go to the moon. So I was like, this is a great bet. So get that all done. We're like, how sick. And Tim, my brother, was like, had known a lot of the lingo and language, and we had raised capital. And so he had helped us do that. And I was like, I wonder if we could do it more. Like we did it once, like I'm sure we could probably do it again. And so I just started cold DMing all kinds of people, Olipop and Oats Overnight and Koya and all these better
These
for you
brands.
products.
Yeah.
I'm just hitting the CEOs and I'm just like, hey, we invested in Magic Spoon, and I think we'd be value add to what you guys are doing. And we
And it's a great case study.
we get what you're going
they're
after,
blowing
and like
up.
and they're like, sick. And so we invest in Olipop and Oats Overnight, and all these brands start hitting. And so we keep syndicating, and we have these people that are like, yeah, I want to keep going. I love what you guys are doing. And so that's, yeah.
And these are now
That's
these are now
moving-
becoming household names.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
I,
so
I drink Olipop almost every day.
Yep.
Same
So
with
we-
Trevor Crump.
Yeah,
It's over,
yeah,
just on
it's
this
overnight.
podcast.
Yeah, all these brands are in people's homes. Yeah.
And so we saw the value there, and we just were genuinely doing it because we wanted to invest from the space station, and thought, man, if we could help again, if we could find the market gap and get other people that wanted to invest in these things that might have not have had the access or the time or the whatever, that we could help them. And so it started working, and Space Station Investments is born. And fast forward, we did 52 deals in 52 weeks.
Oh
So from August 2020 to August 2021, we did a deal a week.
Crazy.
And so that really set us as like, we were like one of the most prolific angel groups,
Especially
in the country at the time,
probably in that
literally.
CPG space.
Oh, and in the CBG space, we
Yeah.
really got to know a ton of great people. And so, in that process, we found, and again, agencies doing well, gaming's doing well. The channels are just absolutely, the channels are doing 300-400 million views a month.
Yeah.
Long
A for
form.
Adley blew up.
Long form.
Yep.
So like collective, I think it's now at like 11, 12 billion views total. So
Which
we're
is
talking billions of views.
unbelievable.
The
So
thing
like
that blows my mind is we're sitting here
Yeah.
talking about one thing, all while
these other things are happening.
they're all happening.
They're all
at the
happening.
same
They're all happening at the
time.
same
Yeah,
time.
so-
Like you're
Yeah.
investing 52 and 52 weeks, all while also building
Yeah,
integrations.
agency probably did this. That would have been 2021. We did like 15 million in revenue, somewhere around there.
So that's
14
blowing
million in
up.
revenue. So that's still moving. It's doing really, really well. Channels are moving, gaming's moving. So in this process, we found this group, this company that we really, really liked, and we were like, look, we want to, we're not the lead investors. We don't come in. We're not a fund, so we don't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
available dollars to be like, we'll commit this.
Yeah.
It was always about how
Your
our
ecosystem,
community,
how you can
right? The
impact.
club, we call it the Space Station Club, how the club would react to any given thing. So like Aura Ring, we had raised a ton of money for, and like that's been
Yeah.
our biggest. It was a $2 million investment. So that was like our biggest that we had done. And then other ones we were doing 200 or 300K, right? And so we'd come to groups and be like, hey, like carve us off maybe somewhere in that like 200 to 300K range. And in this specific scenario, we loved what these guys were doing. And so we bump along, we keep checking in, they keep kind of checking in. And we get to this point where we're like, you know what? It might be advantageous that we come on and really help the fundraising side. Like, I think we need
as
one,
accredited
momentum, but
investors.
also like we have a great group. I think we could really come in and help. And so we partnered with Nodal Power, where we said, we'll go out and help, raise these funds.
I think I remember this
so-
announcement.
Yep. And so these guys are mining Bitcoin using landfill gas. So we take the methane at a landfill, convert it into energy. And then with that energy, we bifurcate
mine
it. We either
Bitcoin,
use it to mine Bitcoin or we put it back on the grid, depending on kind of the setup in the scenario. And so we come in, we raise $13.5 million and go and deploy. So like the Davis landfill just up the road, we convert energy there. And so that gets really, really going and has some phenomenal momentum again, while all these other
Things
things.
are
And
happening.
these are
going
not
on.
all just explosive up to the right, perfect, everything's great. Like within there's so many different stories of things that didn't work, right? Or iterations of processes that needed to be fixed, or just straight up failures, within that, no doubt. And so I just don't want this to perceive as this like,
Yeah,
it's
no,
just like
yeah.
perfect and just like everything works and like
Yeah.
no problems at all. Like plenty of heartache, plenty of problems, plenty of things going on, but overall keeping the positivity and the momentum towards the good.
How does the
and it's moving.
operations work
Yeah.
when you're doing so many things
Yeah,
like
Because
that?
obviously the two Seans.
So you heard me like unit.
Yeah,
right? You heard
yep.
me mention unit.
Yep.
Unit's running the gaming side and just endemic and making sure that it's going there. And then you have like a Nate Riddle on animation, right? So I didn't talk about it yet, but like we were like,
this is one
You
more
also have
thing.
an
let's
animation.
let's reimagine,
Yeah.
content. And we already had these, billions of views. Let's reimagine those in some way so that we could resurface them and have them come back out. And so started an animation studio. But like Nate Riddle is who is just obsessed there. He's known the space for a really long time. He's been at it.
Yeah.
He knows what the pipeline needs to look like and all those pieces. And then Sean comes in and knows all the YouTube direction and what thumbnail and what's going to work for the community. And so Nate's really, really driving home, but as a collective, there's other resources and help, and Trav and Tim, Trav's on integrations and Tim is running investments. And so that's really how it's,
You
all,
pick
how
the
could all
leaders.
this happen is that you have incredible humans and people that are, at that level, just really, really grinding and driving it in. So
How do you find the right people to do it that you can
That's-
trust? And
yeah, I mean, that's always
It's always
but you've had
tough
the same people in place for a
question.
long time.
Like-
It seems like you guys
Yeah.
did a good job at picking
yeah.
those people.
Some of that is like evolution, right? People learn, pick it up, it's there and they figure it out. Some of it is like Nate Riddle was like, I think 18 years or something like that in animation. It's like, this was truly his
This
career.
was
This is what
his.
he's done.
Yeah.
This is who he was.
Yeah.
Trav wasn't. Trav didn't work in an agency previously. Tim didn't run an investment firm previously, and so those were just ambitious, people that were going to figure it out and solve it. And like I said at the very beginning, I believe in the human nature that we can really figure out how to do a crazy wall or the plastic that perfectly fits on this or a phone that can literally do anything.
Yeah.
It's like actually anything. And so we can do, as humans, we can do anything. It's just the
If you're willing-
ambition,
if
it's
you're
the
willing to put in the
fire,
work.
it's the willingness to learn. It's all those things. And so I think we've been fortunate to have just some ambitious, like hardworking people.
Well, one of the things that I've always found very like exciting and intriguing about the space station is the fact that I feel like the people who work there seem so bought in, where most businesses really struggle getting their team heavily involved or almost acting like owners. So especially the leaders that you guys have hired, like you have a guy coming in, Nate Riddle, that has had 17 years experience.
Yeah.
And you bring him over and he's completely bought into what Space Station's doing. How do you get these people so bought into your guys' vision?
Maybe tie that into like best day ever, right? Because this is kind of like Sean, like at least for me from the outside, not being in your culture, how I perceive it as being Sean wanting to create this best day ever, not only for the people that work for you guys, but for the community and the world.
The world. So it's like, I think when you look at and maybe if you were to parallel it with some other scenarios, product and what you're doing, maybe, right? We're a loan company or we're this. You can get in the kind of mindset that like, that's what we are. When I did janitorial, it's like, we're janitors. That's what we do, and it's like, well, you don't have to. I think of like a Tony Hsieh and Zappos, right? Where it's like, we're a shoe company, but really we're a customer service company. And like shoes is our like avenue to what we do, but really this is our core and where we're at. You can imagine how helpful it is to have a creative guy, to have this incredible personality, right? In that he's telling the world in billions of views, best day ever and where that's at, that it bleeds into and it becomes a part of what you're doing, right? It becomes a part of the vision and the direction of where you're going. And a massive piece to it too is not just like, this is what it is.
Yeah.
It's like, Trav might have an idea to do X, Y, or Z thing, right? You've spent more time with Trav than I have. It's like, who he is, how he works, how his mind works, how quick he is, how thoughtful, how caring, how like you gotta let people do what they're good at, and you gotta let them be, what they want to be, because when you start not letting them be what they want to be, then they don't want to be where they're at. Because they think there's somewhere else they could be more. They think there's somewhere else they could be better and have more production or output or whatever. So it's part of it is like evolving with
Removing
and
the boundaries.
allowing them to find what that is and what that means. And sometimes it hits up against it like, well, that's not really what we want or what we need too. And everybody kind of has to reevaluate or evolve. And so, plenty of people have left the space station. Plenty of people would listen to this and think, no, it's not that. It's not what you're saying. It's not what you think. But I think that's life. You could look outside and like, oh, it's all muggy and nasty. Or you could look, this is perfect lighting for some pictures, and you can look and be like, oh, the snow is so soggy and sucky. You're like, that's incredible to go snowboarding. Like, it's so much where you're at and what in that moment it looks to. And so I think the crew that's there that is doing and going are in that, fulfilled and feel like they're moving. But it's not perfect. I'm not here to write a book that's like, here's exactly how you do it. I remember I went to Zappos headquarters and I was like, this is wild. It was wild. Like, people's desks are just crazy, because you can just do whatever you want with your desk. Like, that was wild. They literally hold their like town halls in the old town hall of like Las Vegas, like city council.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So there's like the literal like bench and like where the like people would sit, and then like stadium style seating. And so like Yeah, we in the crowd mic days we held an event there, and so like you can go and read books, and there's plenty of stuff around that they were a little too, like do whatever you want, come go, and things weren't as efficient and
fluid.
didn't run as smooth and stuff. I think it's genuinely finding a balance, and I think even more important to that, and appreciate Shane for really always being vocal of just like, hey, things are hard, and on your LinkedIn. Guys like yourself or Corey, with Taft or some of these others that are just Levi Lindsay, where it's like, it's not perfect. It's not, everything. It's tough. It's tough. And people are going through things you might not realize or know. And so number one is just being vocal and sharing and having a great line of communication for that. So.
Yeah. Well, you guys have also built this incredible brand with all the different types of swag that you guys do that I think really ties people to. And one thing that I feel like from the outside in, it looks like you've done really successfully is hired friends and family.
Yeah.
And
a lot of friends and family.
Done really well there.
Which a lot of people, that's like, you ask anybody that wants to get business advices, don't hire friends and family.
I know.
But I mean, I've got two brother-in-laws that work at Scroll, and I would say everyone that works at Scroll's a friend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
we have tons of families. I'm talking like, tons of just
like your
different
brother works
connections
with you.
and Sean's mom, my mom.
Most
we have
of your
a couple,
brothers are involved, aren't they? Some of them, or just Tim?
Just Tim, really. But then we have, like a couple families that will have like Nate and his wife and their daughter. And then we'll have like the Louders who will run like all of our merchandise that you were just talking about. They do all that work, and their husband-wife combo, right? And then their son works in a different part of the space station and does stuff. And so, again, it's what you want to make it. Right?
Yeah,
you can,
totally.
oh no, it doesn't work, or it can totally work.
How
Who
have
has
you
your
guys
back
seen
more
it?
than your family? But who might be the toughest combos? Like it's such just
It's a trade. It's a trade-off for sure.
trade-off,
It is a double-edged sword because it is like my
Those conversations
brother-in-law.
become tougher.
Yeah, he's worked for us for 4 years, and although like yes, he has my back more than anyone would, and he'll work harder for our company than anyone would. But it's also the tough conversations are way tougher to have.
tough. Yep.
So, how have you guys found that those like what's the best way, I guess, in your mind to work with family?
Just being real. Yeah. I mean, I had one with my mom yesterday. We're just like, had to get pretty real. It's like, cool, you're my mom, all those things, but it's like, this is the objective, and like, this is what's got to get done. So like, get it done.
Separate it.
Just get it done. Like, that's what needs to get done. And it's pretty objective. So just get that done. And then that's,
then we're good.
then we're
Separate
done.
business.
Then
and
it's done.
family,
Then it's
right?
good. And it's like, that's, as direct and as kind of way to solve it. And I think it goes across anyone, not just parents or family. Is just like, where are we headed? What are we doing? And as long as we can all be on the same page to get there in our own ways, that I think it aligns, aligns pretty well.
And do you separate, I guess, I don't want to assume, but like, do you separate your life's mission and your career's mission, right? Like,
yeah, it's tough. Cause like this has become a massive part of my life. And when I was growing up, my mom was the DQ lady. Like that was who she was, like her license plates, literally
Identity
all she
is
wore was Dairy Queen. Like when she moved up here after she sold it after 34 years, it was like, who do I wear?
Yeah, you lose part of your. It's like
this is just bizarre.
Identity.
And so there's just no doubt that it is completely intertwined in both missions. It's kind of one collective mission, but there is separation, and there is parts that are my family, are places and things that I have to invest in and treat in a separate way. And so I was born and raised in like, my mom was the DQ lady, and that was her soul. Yeah. Genuinely. And she like introduced herself as a DQ lady. It was like, it was like so deep, deeply ingrained. And I'm incredibly proud of what we built and what we've done and the opportunities and the experiences and that it's brought. So,
and what do you feel like's next? There's a lot coming in like digital space and AI and all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah, like we've set ourselves up to be able to do a lot of that stuff. That's kind of the cool part. As you've heard the story and it would relate to you at home of what you're doing or what you're working on, is like using the resource around us. Like we didn't stop and say, okay, let's do this thing. Like this is what it's going to be. It was an evolution that like, wait, we have people that want to invest with us, and why not do that, and it became like so intuitive and made so much sense that we just did it, right? And so I think as you look around, like, wait, I'm really good at this, or I know this really well, or I want to do that thing. I think it'll kind of start to happen. And of all of this that we've talked about, it's completely who you know. It's completely about relationships. Really is. Like getting access to or gaining knowledge, because you can learn more in a single conversation from somebody than you could ever read in a book, than you could ever try to study and do from someone who went through it, right? Who sat and was just beat up on whatever the scenario or topic was. So if you can make that phone call and say, hey, how did this go? How did that go? What would you do different? You know, what did you like? What didn't you like? That's so valuable. This week I got to meet with some phenomenal entrepreneurs where I asked those exact things. And the other way, right? Had one that was like, hey, like you guys have structured some of this, or what does this look like? And very tactical, like tax, like entity structure type, like questions, with the knowledge that like, I've seen you've had to try to handle this thing. So like, what did you do? I'm like, I wouldn't do this, or I would do this, or I would talk to this guy. He knows this thing and whatever. For him, it was like, that was so much quicker and more valuable than, you know, the next way is the other thing. Yeah. So it's like another great example. We did an incredible collaboration with Pura. So we invested in Pura, and then we were really close friends with Studio McGee. And so I connect Sid and Bruno, and they go on to do this phenomenal collaboration. Just that quick. Yeah. Knowing both, relationships there, it just goes. For sure. Then they probably both would have eventually worked with each other, or both wanted to work with each other. It's just how do you get it going, and who reaches out, and does that reach out work, and do they see it, and all those things. Yeah. But if you can more fluidly do that, and so whatever level you're at, you're in high school, like, we got like 4 or 5 here, and then like a couple over here in this other room. It's like, if you're there and you want to get into that thing, then start studying it and start intern, or just start asking questions or listening to things like this and figuring out, okay, maybe this is where I want to go. Or if you're at a job today that you love, but you want to be the CFO, then start asking the CFO questions. Start surrounding yourself with the CFO individuals to get to that CFO place. So it genuinely does not. It's so often, I just saw somebody post it or was talking about like, all I see is founders on here. And it just feels like it's always founders. It's like, you don't have to be a founder. You really don't. I promise. Tim Cook's not the founder of Apple. Yeah. Doing a phenomenal job. Mm-hmm. Tesla, Elon Musk did not found Tesla. He bought it. So like, but we all associate and think Elon's the man, and like Tesla's incredible. He created the culture, and he helped obviously elevate it to what it is today. But like, he doesn't have the title founder next to him. Right? Yeah. So like, it doesn't have to be that title or that piece. So whatever scenario or wherever you're at, it's completely about surrounding yourself with those right people, and those right people might be through a podcast. Yeah. Those right people might be through a book. Those right people might be through whatever the scenario you're in. A LinkedIn lunch. Yeah. Yeah, LinkedIn lunch. Could be as simple as that. 1,000%. Whatever. That's where I've met so many incredible people, just bumping into people, you know, and hanging out. So it's like, that is how you acquire knowledge. You know, and everybody does it different in all kinds of different ways, but that is 1,000% where I would start today. Whatever you're listening to this from your desk at work, you're commuting on your drive, you're doing the right thing and trying to learn more and get some perspectives or some ideas to whatever you're doing. But yeah, you don't have to be founder. You don't have to be, you know, and meet the CEO of something. It's like, you can genuinely meet the guy that's just barely above you. Right. And you should be thoughtful to help the guy that's just barely below you. And just providing that value. Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Just find ways to provide a little bit of value to where you're at. And because like in our company, for example, there's ways that AI could completely transform how much work our people have to do on a day-to-day, right? Like, in our industry. And it already has. Yeah, it totally has. But imagine if there was one person at work that was like, guys, I just spent all this time building out these like simple AI models that like figure this out for Mitch or figure this out for so-and-so, right? It's like the thing that I feel like listening to you that you've been so good at is you guys have such great intuition. It's like, oh, Pura is this device that goes at home, and McGee & Co. does home. Yeah. Well, and you have the privilege of having those relationships now, and that's been, and I think that's something to maybe remind is like, it's taken time to get there. Years. It's like, and you have the privilege now of having those relationships and the knowledge, but that's like,
that's taken starting in high school and for having good friends, forming good relationships, taking that into potentially college or a job, doing the same thing.
And bringing value. You can't just expect it
100%.
comes back. Like all of a sudden.
You have to give.
Exactly.
You have
anything
to give.
or anyone's going to just give you what you need or what you want or just hand it to you. It's like, it is such a grind and you have to bring the value back. And so, fortunately with the space station, it has a lot of different kinds of value.
Yeah, it really does.
Social media and storytelling and community and connection to brands and fulfillment with that and brand building. And any one of those have built a brand from nothing in their service or in their industry. So it's like there's plenty, and then having invested in 94 companies now, right? So it's like those transactions and what's an SPV and how does that work? And all these accredited investors and all these different things by just purely doing. So what we were talking about, what we're going to talk about right after this is this idea that I've had. And it's like, who do I call first, right? When I got this idea around, paid media. And it's like, I start ringing up the people I know in that space or in that world. And that then immediately gets me to the guys who do it every day and know exactly if it would work or not, than me speculating and building a business plan and iterating and ideating and investing. And I make a call and I'm like, would this work? No, it doesn't work. Okay, cool. You move on.
Yeah.
Then burning, you're just spinning your wheels. It's like, it never bothers me when people hit me on LinkedIn and are like, hey, what do you think of this? Or hey, what do you think of that? Or hey, where are you at? Am I going to stop, do 30 minutes in a call and get down? Maybe not, probably not, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
But am I down to like, hey, that's tough, or hey, that doesn't work, or here's just a couple roadblocks I've seen having interacted with that, or reach out to this buddy. He might be much more equipped to maybe help you or just give you some direction or ideas. Because it's gone both ways. Then people are like, okay, got it, awesome. But some of those have turned into phenomenal like incredible companies that now are like, hey, I remember when you were the guy that would help me. I remember when you were the guy that hit me back. I remember when you were the guy, like, be that person, right? That is thoughtful and helpful in whatever your thing is. These guys out here know how to run a podcast better than me.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, they're in high school. What does that matter?
It doesn't matter.
What does that matter? So if I'm going to hit up and say like, what mic should I get? And how do the audio levels and the cameras and all these things, genuinely these four people right out here have a lot better idea and have endemically lived that than me trying to think, yeah, but I'm a 36-year-old man with 5 kids and I can
figure this out.
Why? Why? Like, just genuinely ask them, and they know it and they live it, and they would give not just a suggestion like, oh, this mic because I used this one and it was really crackly and terrible, and then we use this mixing software and it messed it up, and then this camera, and when you switch between the like,
they just know it.
Hours, master your craft. You're hours and hours into whatever that is. Just realize there's someone for every one of those. The earpiece you're wearing, the buttons that you have, literally the shoes, the sole of your like. There's someone that is what they've either made their whole career or they're just like mega passionate in, right? So like, I would spend the time to get to them, then I would spend the time trying to just continue to self-educate myself and try and iterate and change and do. And so, like, dive into and figure out and spend the time to get to that person or get to that scenario as quickly as possible. That's the only way this has ever worked for the space station, is by purely the speed to market, because we're willing to go and ask the help and the favors and the connections and the ideas so that when we come into a market, we know the pitfalls and we know the successes, and then we try to emulate the best we can to do them. So.
Yeah, we have a phrase that, because we have really been inspired by what you guys have done, and part of our problem at Scroll has been we've been stuck in operator mode, and we've really wanted to be able to get out of operator mode and get into like creating other branches of our business that complement what we do.
We're getting to that point.
Yeah, we're starting to get to that point, but we've always been just super inspired by the space station, because we have a phrase where we say, if we're going to fail, let's fail fast.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's just try it.
Let's just do
really
it.
quick.
1000%.
If it works, great.
And all it takes is manpower hours, and just grinding it out, trying to figure out how to get it done.
And if it's really in your soul, if you really want to do it, you'll do it.
You will.
If you really want to do it, you'll get up at 5 a.m. or whatever stay up till 5 a.m. It doesn't matter. Right.
Or
I don't know if you like listen to,
better.
I don't know if you listen to like Hormozy or see some of his stuff.
Yeah.
He's like, look, I still drink, I still smoke, I still do all these things. and I'm successful. I don't wake up at 3 in the
4 a.m.,
morning and go on an
optimize my
ice
day.
plunge and then run 76 miles. And then like, I'm doing the things I like and I'm still going after it. And so like, I'm not an early person. I don't like to wake up super early. I'm just not. We actually live in like the same neighborhood. So I'll see Shane like running by.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, look at that guy. He's running.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't bother me. And I'm like, he's better than me or not. It's just that fulfills and is important to him. And that's incredible. If he does it at 2 in the morning or if he does it 2 in the afternoon, who cares? Literally, who cares?
Yeah.
When it comes down to it, though, if you have the fire in your belly, you will figure out. I promise you, you will figure out how
You'll make the time
to do that thing. Some of it's desperation. Sometimes it just comes down
Sometimes
to purely
it's-
like, I
you're at
have
rock
to. It's not I
bottom.
want
You need
to.
to.
I literally have to make this happen.
Yeah.
I really do.
The
I
I
have
want
to.
tos are harder.
And then the I want to is like, well, it's gonna,
but
gonna
like
be
something else.
inconvenient and it's gonna kind of suck and I'm
Yeah.
gonna have to sacrifice something. And so then that is helpful in your guys' current iteration that it's like, well, maybe that isn't the thing.
Yeah.
If it's not just like killing you and you just, how many times have I hit you? This guy's in Hawaii and I'm like, dude, are you back yet? I have this idea. I have to tell you, like, I'm back tomorrow, bro. I'm like, okay. Like it's that much on my mind that I
you're
just
constantly
won't
thinking
stop.
about it.
I literally won't. I can show you. I've texted this guy 2 or 3 times where I'm just like, I got to get this out of my soul. Like either way, it can fail and be like, okay, got it.
For sure.
No
The problem
problem.
is I'll sink my teeth into
Move
it the
on.
second I allow myself
I know.
to, you know?
I know. So he has to be cautious that like, wait, I'm still in this mode with my wife and we're doing this. And like, I know that if I let myself go, then I'm going to be
text you,
nonstop.
it's gonna
be
yeah.
gone.
And
Yeah.
it's going to be nonstop.
Yeah.
So it's like, that is partially
life.
how, in First Space Station, that's how we've operated and done things where it's just like, yeah, we really do see it and we really do want it and we really want to go. And it's just in your soul. Like then you almost can't not do it.
Yeah, totally.
to a degree to like figure out if it's viable or not, or if it works or not. So
Well, I could talk to you for hours because I feel like we could even get into like well, now let's talk about how you feel like you prioritize your day so you have the time to do all this.
kinds of
And, like,
yeah.
because that's where I feel like easier said than done, but you've found a way to you and Shonduras both have just found a way to say like
And Tim and Nate and
Yeah,
the list
yeah,
goes
all-
on. Those are the ones you guys
all
know, so I don't
yeah,
discredit.
yeah.
But then there's
Your whole
this
team
huge
goes
long
on.
list, and you have Mitch and Dan. It's like
Yeah.
it all accumulates and it all comes together. Just be that name, be on that list of the go-getters and that. And there is no balance. I don't know if you follow like Nate Randall, Gab,
Gab Warros. Yeah,
CEO. I love to find inspiration from like people I know or people I just like
His
and associate with.
non-negotiables.
And it's like he sits down and says, like tonight at 6:30, my son has a concert. I will not miss that. I don't care if my biggest client, I will say, hey, I can get to you at this time. This is the non-negotiable. I'm doing this straight up.
Yeah.
I'm doing this thing. And I took that to heart that like, wait, what are some of these? And which then you were leading to earlier that was like, wait, what's, life, some life goals and some business goals and how does it overlap? It's like, I have to find the non-negotiables in both because there's also times where I have to tell my family and say, I have to get this done. Yeah. And they're like, wait, you're not coming home for dinner? And yesterday, my daughter's sending this video, my little 2-year-old, daddy. And it's like, I had made this commitment and I got to stick with it. And that's what I'm doing. But also they know when it's their non-negotiable and it's important to them that I will be there.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's no balance. It's like,
It's not work-life balance. It's just whatever.
just life.
Yeah.
And if you don't love your work, then your life sucks. It's
Yeah,
not about like,
exactly.
my work
Yeah.
sucks, but my life's incredible. You've never heard anyone ever say that. It's like my work sucks. And then that's all they talk about. And you're like, well, if your work sucks, just leave that your work there. And then like your life's great. It's like, well, they always just talk about how sucky the stuff is and how terrible it is. Like, well, then obviously
Something needs to be
that's
fixed.
bleeding into and like that's a massive part of your life.
Yeah.
And where you spend a ton of time, like
It's 40 to 50 hours a week.
Get that right.
Yeah,
You
for
know what I
sure.
mean? And figure that out. And so there's so much like, dude, we could literally talk
we could
the
go.
entire day.
Yeah, no kidding.
I actually believe that.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. Well, Sean, like seriously, thank you for sharing
Heck
one
yeah.
your story, the space station experience.
I
feel
hope
like you've
I listen to some of
communicated it
these.
really well.
Yeah, I hope that people will one genuinely reach out if there's any like way to help or do, and that it's not just this like unattainable. It's the dude who was debt collecting. Sean was a skater, right, and built this incredible Snapchat on. He's like this perception or thought or idea that like you got to be born into it or you got to have some luck or something. Just get after it. Get surrounded by the great people. Be patient. So I just hope that like it's not just another podcast where you hear some cool story of the space station and wow, but that it comes with actual, like, you can do this. I literally promise you can do it, whatever that it is. But like, you can get after it. And I hope I can be a resource, and you guys be resources that you're willing to take the texts or calls or
Where's
messages.
the best place for people to reach out to you?
LinkedIn's probably number one, just easiest. That's where I can see quick messages and kind of keep them somewhat organized. And then my family stuff is in my Instagram. That's where I share just most of my like adventures and with my kids and cool stuff there. And then the Space Station on Instagram is just kind of fun to see a lot of the overlap of what we're doing.
Even that account's blowing up a little bit.
I know.
Yeah, which is cool.
Your brother and Edgar and others that really give it the time. In the next, I think, couple weeks, it'll even blow up more. We got some kind of cool, fun giveaway ideas and things that we want to do to give back to people.
Awesome.
So.
Good.
Well, hopefully I'm a shoe-in for the giveaway.
Yeah, we better get one of those influencer packs you guys are sending out, okay?
That's it. I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for the time today, Sean.
Incredible. Heck yeah.
Appreciate it.
Okay, that's a wrap. Thank you.
Chop that
Thank you,
thing,
guys.
man. That was cool.